There's that. So I want you to feel free. Analytics, as you remember, this is a system of being able to kind of track the, hopefully you can see that a bit better, but track the movements of your website. Now, you're probably thinking, why would anyone want to check the movements of their website? You would do that because you want to be able to see how people are using your website. After all, you spend a lot of time actually trying to make a decent website here, trying to make something that actually works quite well, that's able to basically do something that you want. You have goals that you want people to, you have goals for your website here, and you want people to help you activate those goals or get some leverage on those goals. And so you want to see that your website is actually working out. And so we were talking about some of the ways of collecting data from websites. We have like e-commerce, we're talking about conversions, we're talking about traffic, but all of these are pieces of information, or these are all kind of like good morning, areas of analysis that you want to know about you'd want to explore to see that your website is able to help you with these things here. So for instance, you might want to get more traffic into your website here. And so you would have to see whether you want to be able to see whether people are able to use your website, or see where they're coming from, or to see whether see how people got there. And then you remember the conversions over here. The conversions were the actual goals themselves that you had for your website. And so supposing you wanted people to sit down and to use your or to read your web your web blog or whatever it is. You wanted people to read your newsletter or download the newsletter. Conversions are the goals of your website. So you might want to be checking to see whether people are actually doing this. And then we talk about e-commerce, where maybe you're using your website to sell things. In fact, one of my students from actually 2 semesters ago, said that he had set up a website to sell t-shirts that he was designing himself. And he was using analytics to see where his marketing areas were, and also to see how his ad campaigns were working, which is actually very important, because if you're putting money into, say, Facebook or some other website, buying ads there, and you find out that people really aren't clicking on those ads from Facebook, but they might be clicking on someplace else, it's helpful to know that maybe, for instance, you need to change your ad campaign if you want to continue with Facebook. And so that's really what he was doing with his website. Anyway, he was very gifted. He got a lot of good things. I mean, he made his website very, very sophisticated, but basically just using the tools that we're talking about today, right here. Okay, so I'm going to move on here. So let's see, we had a whole bunch of other things we're talking about here, the different kinds of metrics that you can find. When I use the word, by the way, when I use the word metric, I am talking about measuring something, like some piece of the traffic, or you're measuring something about how many people log in, or you're measuring, or you're determining what their website, or sorry, what website directed them there, or you're determining what their operating system is. And so when I use the word metric, I'm really saying it's something that you can measure, like some data that you can actually determine some fact from. And so all of these things I'm talking about here, all this stuff in blue, for instance, I don't know if you can really see what I'm talking about here. But for instance, I'm talking about in this slide here, the site content, the page views. Those are all types of metrics. Those are things you can measure, things you can actually study. That you can, I mean, they're actually numbers that you're getting from your analysis here. So this is a slide that I put together just to kind of give you an idea about some of the most basic pieces of information that you're more likely to want on your website. Now, depending on the company that you're running, or depending on the kind of the business that you want or the goals of your website, I should say, depending on that, you have these different metrics will be important to you. But these are the basic ones that Google always gives you. Page view, those are the numbers of people who have actually clicked on pages and looked at them. But unique page views, those may be people who have never been before to your site. But remember that we were talking about how you don't know actually that these people have never been before to your site. You just know that the set of cookies in the browser that visited your website showed no instances of ever having been to your website before. And so for all you know, maybe it was someone who goes to your site all the time, but they remove their cookies or something. They clean everything out, and so it's all gone. And so you don't know. And so what I'm trying to say, though, is that just because you have numbers on your screen in terms of your analysis, and this is true for everything. And so I want you to all be aware of this. But just because you have numbers on your screen for some kind of plot or whatever it is that you're looking at, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's exactly what there is, what's happening here. And so, for instance, unique page views and page views, you really can't tell the difference between those two in some cases. You can argue for and against the existence of each. And so what I'm saying is that in analytics, oftentimes you'll have a number or a blip on your screen, but that may not tell you the full story. And so you should always go in and find out more information. It's always on you to go and find out, basically, I guess it's a recommendation from analytics here, but you take that recommendation and you go back and you find out more about what's actually going on. The next thing I want to talk about is the session. These are all very important because you'll be using them in the lab, so I'll spend the time to go over them. But the session is actually very important. This is talking about how much time somebody actually was on your website. Now, this again is a metric which means different things to different websites. So for instance, if you have a website for your restaurant, which basically offers information about the, I don't know, maybe the open and close hours here, maybe the menu, you probably wouldn't expect people to spend more than about 2 minutes on that website because they probably know what they're going to order when they log in, or they'll look at the menu and they'll figure something out quickly. Or maybe they're logging in just to check out the hours. When is this place open? But if you have a website with like a news website where you expect people to spend hours and hours reading your articles, then you would expect your session to be longer. So what I'm saying is that you have to think of your session values, your session times, in terms of what your website is there to do. Is it there to provide people with quick information, or is it there to kind of keep people involved? Like if you're on YouTube, for instance, YouTube wants you to stay on there for as long as you can. This is obvious because of the that autoplay feature that they have. When you watch a video, the next one will play, and the next, and the next, and the next. And so they want to keep you there. They want to keep you watching these videos because between the videos there are ads. Whereas other websites you go to, it's not like you go to a restaurant's website or maybe the opening hours of a gallery's website, and they keep you engaged by continually changing the hours and showing you new data. They don't do that. So it's like you have to think of the goals or the conversions of the website. What are they trying to make you do? Average time, this is also important. So you have to kind of like look at the session information with the average time. This is the amount of time that the user spent looking at a page or at least the screen was open. Now you don't know, by the way, you don't know whether people are actually reading the page. Okay, the page is just open. The browser has a tab which says your website, this page, HTML, and it's there on their screen, but maybe they went off to get a cup of coffee and then they didn't actually read it. And so again, just because you have a statistic for average time, it's not a hard and fast rule, and you can never say this is exactly what's going on. But these are really suggestions, I would say, suggestions of what the activity is on your website. And then we have the bounce rate. Remember the bounce rate? How much time? They're all connected here. Session, average time, and bounce rate. Bounce rate is how much time did someone stay on your site before they left? They just bounced out. And that was because they found out, we assume, that they found out what they wanted to know, like the hours that you were open or whatever it was, and then they left. But if your website was there, if your website is hosting media, and you want people to spend a lot of time there, and then you'd expect your bounce rate to be very, I guess very. You want to have a lot of time there. You want people to, the percentage of single page instances in which there is no interaction on the page. You expect, for instance, that you would have people would stick around on your website for some time here. So I guess that'd be a low bounce rate. They would stay there for a while. But if you had a high bounce rate, that means they went to the website, they found what they were looking for, and then they left. Now, either that signifies that your website was able to provide them with the information that they needed, or they went to your website and realized that they didn't want to be there because it was not what they wanted. And so you don't know why they left. You just know that they did. And so what I'm also trying to say is that when you look at these activity metrics here, you really want to look at multiple activity metrics or metrics at the same time, because one is never enough. You can't. I think I made the points in class before that you can't judge how well your car is doing by one gauge on your dashboard. You have several. You have your gas, you have your engine heat, and you have some other things. It's the same thing with your website here. You have a whole bunch of dials and things that you have to check out. And then the exit indicates how often the users exited from that page or set of pages when they viewed the pages. So for instance, if you find that there's one page that everyone looked at and then they left, well, maybe that was because that page provided all the information that they wanted, or maybe that page upset them in some way. Maybe they looked at that page and the color scheme was was so bright and so vivid. Like you had these bright oranges and bright yellows and things that were just too much, and so people got headaches from looking at your content, that they just thought, I'm done with this website, so they left. So we have that. Now, I think we're all basically caught up with the vocabulary. What I wanted to do today was I wanted to spend some time to actually get you all set up with a Google Analytics account here, and to kind of like spend some time playing with Google Analytics. I think the only way you can really appreciate what's there is by spending the time to kind of look through the metrics and see how they fit for your particular interests or your particular website here. Excuse me. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a website here, and this is just an example here. I created a sample restaurant here for a restaurant. Of course, I don't have a restaurant here, but I created. If you had a restaurant here, you could create a website for it, and you can use something called Google Pages. Now, the reason why we're using Google Pages is because it's very simple to use. It's very simple to connect to analytics. Of course, that's not the only way that you can use analytics. I'll show you some other some code that you can get from the analytics website where you can actually pour that into your own HTML code. It's actually JavaScript that you can put into your code, and then you can use analytics, Google Analytics on non-Google pages here. So let's go ahead and get started here. So my site that I put together, I began right down here. So please do follow along here, if you will. And if you're at home here, you have any questions, I can see everyone in the classroom. But if you're at home and you have any questions, just let me know. I can't see my chat now with all my windows here. But if you have any questions, just let me know. Actually, I'm looking at Slack right now. Bailey, I see your question. I'll get back to you. Okay, so here we go. Setting up your test site. So I started this website here called sites.google.com. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go into, hopefully you can see me if I switch to another. Can you do that? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I'm going to go here and paste that in there. And this is where I actually started my website here. I think I have to log in at some point here. Is that what I have to do? Hold on a second here. How do I do this then? I have to log in. Shoot. So if I log in, guys, let me just get back to me for a second here so I can log in. It's funny how I just get logged out. Now I go back here, I reset. I know you can't see. There we go. And I think that once I have, there we go. Oops. Okay, once I'm back in here, then I should be able to click on this. Can you see where I am here? And at the bottom, I just clicked on a pencil for editing this thing here. So is everybody able to get to this Google Sites editing page here? Is everyone able to do that? Everyone here, yeah? And online, I can't see your faces now, but I'm hoping that if you are unable to get into this website or something, that if the link doesn't work for you, I think that if you just log into your Allegheny website or Allegheny email, it might work for you better. But do log into your email though, your Allegheny email here. You will need to create your website. I do require that you create it under the Allegheny edu domain here. But what I want you to do is to kind of create a basic website. But we don't have to do that right this minute though. You can do that as you're listing, or you can do that later on. But this is really how I made it. I just kind of, as you move around the page here, you have text blocks that you can add. I mean, I just basically took one of the things that they gave me, this template that they gave me, and then I just changed the text here. So I created this restaurant called Dining Deliciously, where I have this little kind of slogan at the bottom here, which come for the dining, stay for the food. And so it's kind of like this fun thing. But anyway, you can create a perfectly professional website, and people do. And I know this is not a website development course, and I don't want to take away the thunder from Dr. Caphaver here, but you can actually create some very good stuff. And I'm hoping that when you create your website, though, that when you are looking for jobs, you will use your website to put up your projects from your interests, your projects from computer science, your projects from your other areas of interest, your other disciplines, and your resume, and something about yourself. And then actually to put together a perfectly viable, professional-looking website upon which you have placed analytics, so you can see how people are using your website, and that might help you to understand how you can make it better, or how you can get employers to use your website with a little bit more a little bit more. Might be able to find those websites a bit more, or those links more easily. Or you can see how many people are checking out your resume. This is all very important because when you're looking for a job, you need that hope that you'll get when when you see that someone's clicking on your site and they're looking at your resume. It gives you this hope, and that hope is enough to get you through it. Okay, it's not an easy task, but anyway. But this will help. This will help. Now, so I've created my website here. Now I'm going to go back to my slides here just to kind of get an idea about where I'm supposed to go next. And once I've created my slides here, I'm going to also go. Well, I mean, you can keep your slides open here, but I'm going to this website here, Google Analytics. Now you can type in this address as you see it here, or you can just go to Google and type in Analytics, and you'll find the same thing. But I'll just put this link in there just because it's easy. Now, when this thing opens up, let's see. Let's see my other dining site here. Oops. Actually, it's not this site here. It's another site. But basically, though, this is what your analytics will look like here. In fact, this is for a different website, I think. Which is one that says okay. In fact, this is the course website. I put this together to show you what this thing looks like. But these are the analytics from our website, starting from, I guess, whenever it was when I first taught this course. But basically, I've attached it to this course website so that we can spend some time looking at this. But if you click on, actually, I'll go to the overview right now to show you something here. You can see that there's 4 people on the website right this minute, and they're all looking at the resources page here. In fact, anybody else out there, if you want to click on the course website, not that I'm asking you for clicks here, but if you do, you'll see that the number actually will rise. There's 4. Right? So if I change this, in fact, I'll do this myself. I'll go to, there we are, 5. Whoever that was, 5. I feel like this is some kind of telethon here where I'm like, hey, come on, guys, just more clicks, more clicks, more clicks. But I wanted to show you, though, that this is kind of what you can do. And I can see, for instance, on my, hopefully you can't really see this on the overhead, but hopefully you can see this on your own screen, that you have, for instance, this map of America where I can see, for instance, where people are clicking. And I can see that somebody is clicking from Florida, Davie, Florida, and someone is clicking from Meadville. So if I double click on this, I think I can get into, can I get into this any further? No, maybe I can't. Sometimes you can. I don't know whether I'm doing something wrong now. But sometimes you can actually get in a bit closer. But we are going to create all of this stuff today. And so I'll take you through this website in a bit here, just to show you what's there. But I think I'll get back to the slides for now and show you how to get this all started. And then as we are going through my website, you can be going through your website to get an idea about what these metrics look like. So let's do that then. I'm going to go back to the slides now. Don't worry, all the excitement's coming. We'll get it. So when you want to set up your analysis account here. So basically, give your website a name right now. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. It doesn't have to be anything amazing. Just call it like analysis demo or something like that. This is not the professional website that you're going to be creating. By the end of this course, you will know how to put together a professional website. Just because you have time. But right now, though, just put anything you want, just like a demo or something. And we'll use this as our initial introduction to analysis and websites. So once you've picked a name and you kind of saved it here, then we're going to go to the analytics area here. And if you go to the link that I use is going to be different from the link that you use. But if you go to, if you just click on this link down there, I have to reload again, but whatever it is. If you're logged into analytics, then it will take you to this page here, or it may take you to a page that looks like, and I just lost my slides, haven't I? Goodness gracious. Sorry, let me get my slides back. Each time when I get excited here, I start clicking on things. And when I click on things, I lose my slides because the links take me away to other pages, and so that becomes weird. So I have to go back and find them. But anyway, what I'm expecting to find, though, is that when you click on this link, if you end up at this site, right, or a page that looks like this, where you have the create account, then that's good. But if you've already logged in or created a Google Analytics account, then you'll see something else, and I'll show you how to deal with that. So you're going to see something that looks like this. That's if you've already used analytics in any capacity before. But to get to this site here, where you'd like to have you want to get to the site here so that you can actually kind of connect your website with analytics here. To get to this site here, if you see this page here, and this is what I have to do because I'm already logged in, I click on this admin wheel here, and then I have to go to create account, which is this piece up here. But either way, though, I think that what I see on my screen should be what you see on your screen. Do you all see that? Jordan, do you see that? Anyone see that? Okay, you don't see that at all? What do you see, sir? Oh, I see. Okay, well, that's fine. What is it? What's it asking you to do? Is it asking you to put your name in there? And could you see whether, for instance, my face is blocking this. At the top, I can't believe that I'm the culprit for my face is actually blocking, so I can't see what I'm trying to point to. Hold on a second. Let me see whether I can move this back over here. I have to go to my small cam. I have to undo this. I'm going to move this down a bit. So I'm going to move this back again so that you can see this. But could you go up to this point at the very, very top where my face is? Basically, to see whether you can log into your Allegheny website or your Allegheny email. And if you log in, then, or actually maybe, for instance, you might see the page where it says begin analytics or something. Do you see that? Okay, let me come around. Let me just take a break, everybody. Come around. Yeah, that's it. That's exactly right. Oh, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. No. So yes. No. So yes. So that's exactly what you want to see. So what we're looking at here is I don't know why actually you don't see. This is hold on a second here. It appears that this is frozen in some. Oh, you know what? You know what? You're not looking at. Yeah. Okay. Okay. If you go to create account, then you should see this. Is that right? Why is this? Okay, it's not frozen. For some reason, Zoom tends to freeze on me up here, especially if I have all these. I guess if I have all these windows open, and so if you notice that something strange is happening, please let me know. But sir, that's exactly what you want to see. You want to see a page that looks like this. In fact, everyone should see this. And what you want to do here is you want to put this account name. Does everyone? If you don't see this, please let me know. But is everyone here? We're all on the same page here. Okay. Good. Now put your account name here. So you could put in, like, for instance, anything you want, like delicious dining resto. Something like that. This is the name that I'm using. It's just a demo. It's not going to be. You can remove this if you want later on. It's not forever there. You have complete control of removing these things here. And so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a name. And this is a name that I'm going to use to kind of see where these analytics are coming from. This is what you see on your screen here. Then I'm going to leave all these things checked. I'm just going to go through and leave all the defaults going as they are. I click on next. I want to have web. And in fact, if you go to the slides here, I take you through all these steps here. And so if I'm going too quickly, or if you missed a step here, it's not lost. Everything's in the slides. You can still find everything there. And so then I'm going to I put my name in here. And then what I have to do is, when I get back to my slides, delicious dining, I go down to next. And here I have to put the website name here. So I'll just put Delicious Dining Resto again. I'm not very creative here, but I'm going to use the same name over again. But here's where you actually have to put in your website URL. That's going back here. And what I did was I published this website here, and somewhere I found, for instance, okay, got it, whatever, fine. Okay, so somewhere I can find the link for this whole thing here, which is View Published Sites. There we go. Remember, this is not a real website here. I don't have a restaurant, so don't call me up and ask me what my special is today, because it's going to be ramen noodles, I'm sure. Okay, so I go back to my analytics here, and then I put in my link there, which is right here. Now the link is going to be ugly, and that's okay, but don't worry about that. It doesn't matter. And then you have to do this industry category. Now, because I have a restaurant that I'm putting together, I'm going to use, I don't know, arts and entertainment. That should be good enough. Reporting time zone, I'm going to change this from LA to Eastern time. That's where we are. Someplace it's in here. I don't see, I guess it's, oh, I don't know. Where are these places? Is Boise anywhere near us? Yes, sir.
So, for the website URL,
You're supposed to, so I want you to yeah, so for the website URL, I want you to design your website using your Allegheny.edu email, like log in with them, right? Otherwise, I mean, if you're like me, you probably have 2 or 3 different Gmail accounts, and I do. So make sure that you're designing your website with your Allegheny, because that's it just makes everything easier. Otherwise, when you click around, it makes things. It's difficult if you find, for instance, that you're using different email accounts to put all these things together. But I mean, for later on, though, there's ways around this. But just for now, to make it simple, just leave it all the same login name. Then, once you go back to your website here, you can use this publish button here to kind of create a link. You can see this here. You can create a link to your website. And what I did was just very simply, I just said, show me, where was it? Where it was now, I guess publish settings or something, or review and changes and publish. And that means basically make this thing kind of camera ready. And then somewhere I found a link where I can actually see this thing online here. View the published site here, which is right there. So view the published site. And then once you view the published, oh gosh, let me say that again. But once you view the published site, then you can go up to the top of the page here, and then that is your link. And I hope that, you know what, I should move this down a bit so that it's a little bit more readable. Sorry guys, let me just move this back a bit. Hopefully everyone can see that. Oops, wait a minute. Something got cut off my screen here. There we go. I'm sorry, let's move it down again. Okay, so anyway, that's the website that I'm using here. And that was all because I clicked on the, I clicked on this link to, I keep looking to see that everything's been sent over. But I keep clicking on this, oops, not settings here, but I keep clicking on this publish. I first of all had to publish the settings, which basically means put all the files into like an internet-ready format, and then put everything into a directory structure that Google can use. That's what publishing really means. There's a bunch of other things that go on too. But then I clicked on this view the, oops, gosh, I keep clicking on this thing, and then it just. But anyway, you go to the link there, and then you can see the view published site. And then that should allow you to. But if you view the published site, then that means that you can then get to this website where you get to the link. I know this sounds like a kind of a crazy thing here, but it does work. Hopefully that solves. Okay, so then what you want to do then is you want to say what your website, or let's put Chicago time or Detroit time here, Chicago time, and then I'm going to put arts and entertainment, and I hit create. And then once you hit create, it's going to take some time here, which is, I don't know why it has to take so long for this, but it does. And I think what happens is that Google has to, oh, you know what? Sorry, it says my URL is invalid, and that's because you don't need to add the HTTP://. Okay, so here I have this HTTP. They already give you the HTTP in this menu here, but actually though you just need to have HTTPS. And I think I should actually say not HTTP, but actually oops, where am I? I think it's actually HTTPS. So that's that should work. And now if I go down to create, you have some fine print here. Basically says that I'm allowing Google to see what I'm doing. I allow Google to see my traffic. And here's some terms and agreements. I recommend you to read these things, but I'm not going to go through them right this minute here. But basically, though, it's like you're handing over the access to your data to Google. So they do this to protect themselves. Now, this is where things get actually very important here. So you want to take this key that you get out of here, and I'll erase this after a while here. You want to take this key, not my key here, but you want to take this key, and then you want to go back to your website, and you're going to be sticking that key into your, let's see, where's my, okay, so you go back to your website here. Hopefully it's more or less put together. You have this wheel at the top here, and when you click on the gear wheel, I wish you guys could see my mouse. I just realized that you can't see that. You can see settings right there, but when you click on settings here, if you go down the link or down the list here, you'll see that there's a block here that says analytics. If I release this, it says connect your site to Google Analytics account to get insights and metrics on usage. So then basically you just take that code that they gave you on analytics, which is right here, and then you go down here and you paste it in there. And then you have to enable the analytics, which is down at the bottom here, and that should do everything for you. And I think that I can just click X here, and then we're good to go. Now it says, you can't see from where you are, but it says that site analytics are now active. Now it may take some time, like maybe 24 hours, for your website to start getting clicks. And people click on your website now. If you share your link with your friends, it may take some like 24 hours for those clicks to start registering. Just because it's a new account and Google has to do some internal things to get everything going. But once it happens, though, then you can start having people clicking on your website. You can say, hey, I can see someone clicking on my website, or I can see that they're coming in from wherever. Just the other day, I had someone clicking on my website from Europe, which was actually quite cool. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, there's somebody in France clicking on my website. Nice. It's like, anyway. So that's basically how easy it is to do. One thing I'd like to go back and talk to you about is that if you go back to the analytics website here, maybe I should move this out a bit here. There is some code down at the bottom here. This code right here is JavaScript. Now they offer this JavaScript to you because if you're running a website here, which is not a website that's made in Google sites like this. In other words, it's a website that you've actually put together with just raw HTML, and many people do that. If you're using something like Netlify, or you're using Netlify allows you to connect your website to a GitHub repository where you change your website by adding files to GitHub, and then Netlify picks up the files the changes from your repository on GitHub, and then it implements them on your website. So it does this in-between stuff here, which is actually very cool. So if you are working with your website that way, and many of us around here actually do that specific way to do websites, then having this tracking code number is not going to help you because there's nowhere to dump it in your code or in your website here. So instead, what you'd have to use is you'd have to take this code right down here, this global site tag, and you copy and paste this code and you put this into every single website that you're going after, or that you want to analyze. So let me just take you back to my own website here. If I can find this here, click over here, and I'm going to go to the class analytics. Okay, and if I go to, for instance, view page source, there we go. This is the source. This is code that I put together with, some of it's my code and some of it's a frame or a template that I found online. But basically, I wrote this using just raw HTML. I'm kind of a coding type of person here, so I like the idea that I can control seemingly all aspects of my website by code. So this, going back to the analytics here, this code that I have here, this JavaScript stuff, I put my code all the way at the very, very bottom. It's like down here someplace. It's this. And so you have this function here, which is what they've given you here. Looks a bit different here. This is the web tracking code for the property. Copy and paste this code as the first item of the head of every website that you want to track. Oh, this is slightly different code. That's okay. Slightly different code. But basically, though, you're putting this code into your thing. When I did this, the code looked a little different. The instructions for it were to put this at the very, very end, which is what I did. Right. In fact, I used the code at the end. And at the time, the code was exactly this. It's a little bit less user-friendly, but sure enough, that's how you put your code in there. Okay, so there's this. Now, one thing I should tell you, though, and when you're running this whole thing here, you might want to I don't know. You might want to tell people that you're actually analyzing their data here, especially if you're selling something. If you have a website that's actually going for the general public and you're selling something, or you have a business, and there's money being exchanged here, then you might want to have some kind of a note in there saying that cookies or you're tracking their movements. I think in many countries, in Europe, for instance, you have these. Well, let's see. When you go, one site I was going to just the other day was Uniprot, which I think is an American website here. But when you go to Uniprot, which is a big database online, someplace here, I don't see it now. Well, some sites you go to have these pop-ups that say, this site is being tracked, or your actions are being tracked. It's kind of like when you walk around Pennsylvania, you'll find, for instance, these signs that say outside people's houses or outside businesses, smile, you're on camera. They're telling you that you're actually being recorded because that's the Pennsylvania law. For instance, if you are recording a phone call, you must tell the person that you are talking to, or a Zoom call, you must tell the persons that you're talking to that it's being recorded. And it's for this reason, for instance, that when you record when you see, like when you're in a meeting here and someone's recording the meeting, there's this little icon in the top corner saying that the meeting's being recorded, because that's your right to know, so that you don't say something that's going to embarrass you later on. In other states, like for instance, my state is, I'm actually from Nebraska, where I went to school here. That's where I was before. But in that state, there's no such law, and so you could just record any old phone call and not get in trouble. However, if you're in Florida, the laws are more stringent, where if you record a phone call in Florida, then it's almost like you could be fined, and maybe even given a major ticket here for breaking the law, because that's absolutely not allowed. You're not allowed to record phone calls or to record communications between parties who are unaware that their voices are being recorded. If they know that they're being recorded, then that's fine. But that's why, for instance, if you design a software that records, it has to have some kind of a ping or a marker or a signal that says that the call is being recorded. That's a tangent. I'm going to go ahead. By the way, has anyone been able to? Is anyone's analytics working just yet? Have you been able to get it working yet? It's not. It might take some time. It might take some time. So what I'm trying to say, though, is that when you first put this code into your website, wherever that website was, this one, when I did this, I think I waited 24 hours. I mean, there's like 12 to 24 hours. For some reason, it takes them that much time to get everything ready. But then if you go back in, if you don't see anything, just keep logging in and again, and you'll see that eventually it will come up. What I wanted to do, though, is I wanted to take you through my own website here. And just show you something about like where people are logging in from, just as an idea here. So I'll look at these are all different. What I'm looking at up here, by the way, these are all different views. And so each of these websites here represents a past class. There's the Delicious Dining Resto, that's from today. Last semester, I had the La Discipline Fétale, which is what I call computer science, because you either love it or hate it, it seems. I mean, either you love working with computer science or your code crashes and you hate it. And you're like it's like this constant love and hate relationship. But we created this simple website. And none of these websites do anything. It's just names. And then I had OVC Test Site, which was the site before. And then I just had my name, which is the very first time I ran this thing, which is kind of crazy. So I'll just take you through what to expect in these things here. And hopefully, if you go to your analytics website here, actually, could somebody just tell me what they see? If you go to your analytics website, do you see anything that's there? That like anything, I mean, do you see this menu on the side here? You see the, it's mine, right? Okay, so you should see something here, but you probably won't see any data because it's just not old enough. You have to give it some time. And you might, I mean, send out some links to your friends right now. Maybe you can send them out on Slack or whatever it is, and then you can click on these things and have that ready for next time. But it's funny though, when you send out the link though, and you click on these things, if you click on the real time, then you can actually see people logging in like right this minute. In fact, I'll do this myself just because I'm that kind of guy. If I just hit reload, I just hit reload on my website here, and if I go back here, I should see one. There we are. That's me. That's me, because I just reloaded my website. So what just happened there is that my website's session timer timed out according to Google Analytics. It just thought that since, I mean, I had logged into my website here, and then I had more than 5 minutes had elapsed, and then it just thought, oh, this user's asleep, or maybe they don't care anymore. So I'm going to call it right here, and that's the session that's now finished. And so that session then was ended. And so now by refreshing that page, I've just created a new session just for me. So this is what you're expecting to see. In fact, if you go down to this top active pages here, it makes sense that this one view in the last period of time here was actually the class website. This is CS301, because that's just what I clicked on. And so that's what I see right this minute for all the users who are actually on my site right now. And it's just one user, which is me. It's very lonely here. So anyway, I want to show you something else that you can, like what to see here. So I don't have any referral information here because it's not that, I mean, I just reloaded this thing here. But there are, I think the most useful thing here is the top active pages, which is right at the top here, where I can actually see what pages people are clicking on. If this were your a website where you're discussing your projects and hobbies and who you are, and offering your bid for a job, and maybe putting out your resume, and maybe talking about some of the projects that you've put together, and going over your competences, that kind of website here, then you can see from your active pages what people are more interested in reading about. Let's say that last week, for instance, you put out a website where you put out, there's a page that concerns your projects, a page that concerns your skills, a page that concerns who you are as a person, your philosophy on life, all of those things, your philosophy on teamwork. It seems that in this country, teamwork is a very important piece of getting hired. So when you put out that information here on different pages here, in fact, I'd recommend you have different pages for each subject matter, so that later on you can go back to your top active pages and say, I see that people are interested in reading more about my projects. Maybe I should either build up my other pages or provide links to those pages or do something to make them a little bit more attractive so that people will click on pages about me. I want people to know who I am. I want them to know my family, or I want them to know where I'm from, or my education. I want them to know these things. And so maybe if you find that people are not clicking on these, then you can somehow change your website strategy. So that's something that you can actually use today, right now. And so you don't have to be an expert in anything. Just look at the numbers and say, oh, this page isn't getting used. How can I change that? Then you have, going back to this real-time bar here, you have locations. I can see where people are clicking in from. In fact, before school began over the summertime, I could see that people were clicking in from, there's somebody clicking in from Japan, there's someone clicking from Korea, South Korea, some people clicking in from India, some clicks from Australia. And that for me was just amazing. It's like, you know, these, to my mind, these places are a long way away. And to find that people are finding information from our college all the way in the middle of Seoul, Korea, or from Tokyo, Japan, it's really exciting. You know, it's like you're becoming a kind of a global player here. It's like you're becoming out on the global stage, and you can see that from these analytics right here, where just by running your mouse over these things. Maybe I should move my face up again, just so you don't have to keep looking at that. Hold on, let me just switch that around here. I have to move my camera. But what I'm saying though is that it's actually, it gives you goosebumps in a way when you see how far your website goes. And you'll find that for all of you, you're all destined for amazing things. I know that's very easy for me to say, but I know that you're destined for amazing things. I can see it, I know. But but to prove it to yourself, when you see that you're destined for these amazing things, when you see that people are clicking on your website from all over the world, it's really exciting. It's really, really exciting, and you can see that from right here. So you have location information right here in this box right here. You have information about the countries. In this case, it's just the United States that's clicking on this thing here. But if you have family or friends in another country, give them a call, send them a link, and have them click on this thing while you're talking to them, and you can see, for instance, the country wherever they're clicking from just light up, which is actually quite exciting here. Next, I'm going to go to traffic sources here. Traffic sources give some information. I don't really have any information here or any data to show you here, but this should be talking about, I think, where the pages are. What are they saying here? They've changed this a little bit here. Oh, you have your page views and you have your information here. So you can see like what pages people are clicking on. I think by clicking on this stuff here. Can I do that? I can't. But you can see, for instance, like how much time people are spending actually on your site in certain areas here, in terms of minutes here. And so this is like another kind of like how much time are they spending on your thing here. So where are they going, and how much time are they clicking them? I think you'll see that list right below. I wish I had more data on this page to show you. Not that I'm lamenting about my website not having more stuff here, but whatever. Content, this is where people are actually going to. You see this information kind of, if you go back to real time here at the overview, you'll see a lot of the stuff is the same here. This top active pages, that's also this content stuff right down here. And so, for instance, I can see that there's one active user right now, and they are clicking on the course class website here. You can see them there. And so you can see that that's where these people are. And so if you find that there's like hundreds of people on your website here, like many people here, you can see all the pages that they're looking at here, and they're all ranked in some kind of an order here. How many of the active users are actually on that page, and that gives you an idea in real time here who is where on your website. Now, events is a little bit different here. Events is, for instance, if you have something that you want, like if you want somebody to, if you want to have some kind of I guess a bell rung every time something happens or whatever it is, then you can create an event here. And so an event would be like if you have people downloading your newsletter, for instance, you can have like the 100th person receive balloons or something on their screen. Who knows? You can create that kind of study from here. You can see what the events are which are happening on your website, so that you can put some kind of a timing or some kind of a, I don't know, you could use that in some way for maybe a marketing campaign. But as this is on a marketing site, I haven't touched that at all. Conversions is, as you remember, you can set up goals. And so here I'm actually saying, like, how many times did somebody download my newsletter here, or how many times did someone actually contribute money or buy something or do something that my website is there to do. And so that is why, that is how you could create this. You could kind of get an idea about how many people are, or if your website is actually doing what it's supposed to do. How many people are using your website to do what it is that it's supposed to do, and then that would help you know whether, for instance, it's working. Is this website even working? In fact, I'm logging into this website from a different machine here to see whether I can change any of the numbers here. No, it's about the same. It's about the same. Let me just go to the overview here and see. Okay, so I've just on my other machine that I have here, I've just opened up this, there we are. So I've just opened up this website again here. And you can see now that there's two people. I was wondering whether, for instance, since I'm logged into my email twice on two different machines, whether that counts as two different logins or whether that counts as one login. But apparently, each machine counts in these analytics here, regardless of the name that you've logged in at. Okay, so that's conversions. Another thing I want to talk about is the audience. And so if you click on audience here, you have the overview. And in the overview, you can look at, for instance, the number of users which have logged into your website over a course of time. So you can see here that September 4th, I had 38 people logging into my website. That was a Friday. Now on Saturday, the following Saturday, I had 2 users log into my website, log into the website for this course. Now, who here can explain to me a plausible reason why there's such a discrepancy in those numbers? Anybody at home, if you have the idea? Remember, Friday we had 38 users, and Saturday we had 2. What's going on? How can you explain those numbers? Remember that the analytics does not explain the number. There's no reasons for this. It just says that it happened, and then you're done. And so you have to figure out now why. You have to explain it. You have to figure out why that is. That's what data scientists do. What do you think, sir? That's right. That's right. So the answer is that on Friday, people are more interested in doing schoolwork, but on Saturday, it's the weekend. Relax. But also on Saturday or on Friday, we have class, and so people probably log in to see what the notes are, the slides are, to see what's going on. And so there's a reason for them on Friday. So then that would explain it. We don't know exactly that that's it, but that would explain it. That's a working solution. And so if I were to explain this to a group of people, I'd say, let's say, Dr. Bonham-Carter, why do you think that these numbers are different? And I'd say, well, speaking to my colleague, he rightfully said that because Friday we have class, people are in class, they're thinking about class, and therefore they're more likely to use the website than they would do on Saturday when they don't have class. And so according to this data, we have reason to believe that class time on Friday inspires people to use the website. You'd have to say that. According to this data, we have reason to believe. Because otherwise, if you say, I know that, someone's going to say, well, maybe you don't know that because I have reason to believe that that's not the case. But that's absolutely right, though. Because Friday, we have class. And I'll bet you, though, what's this day over here? This is Monday, went up to 22. What's this day over here? Tuesday, Tuesday's 27. I guess people are just checking this. But, I mean, but you can see that obviously during the school week here, let's go to a month here. During the school week here, it seems that people are more likely to be checking this website as during the weeks here. Why is it? I don't understand why. Well, whatever. You'll have to play around with these settings here. I think I think you get the idea here. On the day, you actually get the granularity that you're looking for. And so I don't know if I can move this around. I don't think I can. I can, but I can do this later. But during this time frame, though, which is basically September 3rd to September 9th, you'll find that, for instance, I had 65 users, and of those 65, there were 28 new users. Now, what that means in this case here is that these people had no cookies to suggest that they'd ever been to this website before. Then, for instance, I had 208 sessions. Now, that could mean anything. It could mean anything. That means somebody logged in with their phone to the website, and then a call came in. They had to take the call. They forgot all about the website that was open on their phone. It's still hanging there in memory, and then it just doesn't get used. That could be a session. Maybe, for instance, something else happened where you open up your computer, you checked out the, I don't know, you're checking out, you open the link for the class, you look at the slides, and you realize that you've already opened up that same link before. So then you click to the other way, you click to the other tab. Now you have 2 sessions open. And so the thing is that these numbers here, again, they have to be taken with a grain of salt in some case, if that makes any sense to you. That means you have to you look at the numbers, and then you think, okay, that tells me something about the trend, but it doesn't tell me exactly what's going on. It's kind of like, when you look at these numbers here, my background is numbers here, basically. My master's is in math. And so when I look at these numbers, when I first saw these numbers, I had the impression that it was like kind of watching a movie with most of the sound turned down. It's like you get pieces here and there to kind of keep you in tune with what the plot is here. But for some of the fine dialogue, you miss it because it's all masks behind numbers here. You can't explain all these numbers here. So for instance, like page views, 619, that does seem a little bit high, but maybe, for instance, there were some mistakes that were made when people were logging into their websites, and so maybe the website or the pages were clicked twice. It happens to me, for instance, that I'm turning on my computer, it's slow, I click on something twice, tick, 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 like that, and before I know it, I get like 2 different browsers that show up with the same page. That could be a page view. And so the thing is, though, that we don't know why these numbers are what they are. So as a data scientist or an analyst, your next course of action here is to witness that there is something going on with these numbers. The page views seem kind of high. Maybe something is happening. So your next task is then to try and explain that number. You have to explain the number, otherwise the analysis is no good. You have to drop the other shoe. Remember that all these numbers are not here to be cool wallpaper on your computer. Rather, these numbers are here so that you can make decisions, worthy decisions about your business or your website or your direction or getting a better job or moving forward with some kind of a newsletter delivery system, whatever it may be. These are all about getting people to convert and to basically help you, maintain the goals of your website here. And so these numbers by themselves don't tell you much about what's going on, but you have to kind of like use those numbers to realize that there's something more to see here. This is the average session duration, about 3 minutes and 53 seconds. That I believe because when people log into this website here, they traditionally would just check to see maybe what time it was, or maybe they'd pick up the slides, or they'd check out maybe they'd go to, for instance, the website and they'd click on the planning your time, which is right down here. If I can show you here, planning your time. They click on that link, and that would take them to the daily schedule where they can see what's going on. And by the way, I hope that you are looking at the daily schedule here. This is talking about what we're doing in class. Next week on the 18th, we have our first speaker coming. Actually, they're not going to physically be here. They're going to be on Zoom during our lab time. It was more fun when they were able to come in class here. But this is actually he's a great speaker here, and he's coming to talk about business analytics, exactly what we're talking about here today. He looks at marketing. He helps marketing in marketing, or his area is marketing. So he helps companies who are trying to sell a product to market that product. And so in his head, he's doing data analytics. On his websites, he's doing data analytics. He writes code that does data analytics. It's like and he puts all these numbers together, and he doesn't look at just one piece of information here, but he stands back and he takes everything collectively, and he determines what is the best course of action to sell some product. Here in Meadville, in Pittsburgh, in New Hampshire, in Philadelphia, wherever, all around this area, that's his area. So Ron Maddox is a terrific speaker, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him come. Cool. This is my bounce rate, 16.35% bounce rate. That means that 16.35% of the people basically left fairly soon after they'd arrived in my website here, which basically, that's fine with me because I don't expect people to hang around on this site. They probably came here, checked out one thing, planning your time or the schedule or whatever it may be, and then they left. And that's okay. This is also quite interesting here, demographics. I can see information about like the languages that people, oh gosh. I can see information about the languages that people use here. And so I can see that, for instance, I can see that somebody logged in using US English from Great Britain. JA, I don't know what that language would be. I don't know what that language would be, JA. Then there's Chinese. These, by the way, these are languages. Again, it doesn't mean the person who logged into your website knows these languages. It just means that these language credentials were configured in their browser when they logged in. And so for all you know, maybe they were borrowing a laptop from somebody else. But this is information, though, that you can say, well, a laptop or a computer with Chinese language software logged into this website here. And you can see on the side here the percentages. Most of the people logged in with US English, but some people logged in with Great Britain English, and some people logged in, like 3.8% logged in with Great Britain English here, and then other people walked in with, and I'm thinking this is Mandarin Chinese, 1.54% Chinese people. And so you have all this other information here too. For instance, that's the country. If I can click on the demographics here, country. Going down here, of course, in the last, whatever it was here, the time that I'm looking at here, between September 3rd and September 9th, I had one visitor from China. How cool is that? In fact, if I click on city, you can see what cities people are logging in from. Of course, Meadville is at the top of the list with 57 because we're probably most of the hits are probably coming in from campus. Then we have people from Pittsburgh, people from Beijing, Bethel Park, Latrobe, Olaha, I guess, Olaha, and then Davie, and then there's not set, which means basically that there was either missing data or somebody had masked their demographic information. Then I have information here about the browser that people used, and this is important because I find that most people, well actually, this is actually important, most people are using Chrome, and this is interesting actually. I'm looking at my browser here. Most people, 66.15% of the people who log into this website are using Chrome. And then there are 23.08% of people using Safari. And then after that, there are 9.23% of people, of users here, are using Firefox. And then there's Opera. Let me just venture another question here. Can anyone explain, I'm surprised to see that Safari is in front of Firefox. Last year, it was Chrome, then Firefox, then Safari. Can anyone here explain to me how Firefox and Safari may have switched? Firefox is a browser that you typically would find on a computer, whereas Safari is a browser you typically find on an iPad or an iPhone. Yeah, I would say that more people are buying Mac products, perhaps. That's right. I would say so. I would say so. I would say that Firefox may be for the Linux users, and maybe Chrome too. But I would say that Safari is a Mac product, and so I'm saying that that probably represents the Mac people. I don't know that. We don't know that. But we can come up with a theory to explain, and then we have to test that theory. We have to go after that theory and say, this is what I think. I'm thinking that more people are buying iPhones or iPads. In fact, I do see on campus many people actually carrying iPads. I think that iPads are becoming like the new software or the new hardware that people are using. They're light, they're easy. It's good for teaching. For me though, we code, so I have to use a keyboard here. But I'm thinking that these people who use Safari are probably using their iPads. Otherwise, they'd use something like Chrome or Firefox, because those things, Chrome or Firefox, I think excel in the on a computer hardware. That's just me. I don't mean to. I'm not putting this on you though. But I would say that that's. I tend to find that Chrome and Firefox excel on computer hardware, where Safari excels on the iPad and iPhone. So anyway, there's that. Then there's also the information about the operating system. So now we can test your hypothesis in a way. We can see like what's the operating system, and it looks like you're absolutely right. You can see here from the operating system that Mac is Macintosh, the hardware, the computer, not the iPad, not the iPhone, but Macintosh. 30 of those users, or 46.15% of my users, were logging in with their Macs. You should be in analytics. You should do this. Then I have people from Windows logging in. That was 36.92%. That makes sense because I think a lot of people in this class have Windows machines. I see here the people having. Is your computer Windows or Linux? It's a Windows machine. Yeah. So I think a lot of people have Windows machines, and there's nothing wrong with that. This is not a browser war or a hardware war here. Some people do that, but Windows is cool. And then you have Linux. Does anyone here have a Linux machine? No one? Oh no. Well, I have a Linux machine, so I'm logging in right now on a Linux machine. So maybe that's me. In fact, what if I reload this thing? Does it make the numbers change at all? I don't know. This is just going to confuse everything. I don't see anything changing. But that could possibly be me. But I think that a lot of people are also using their iOS, and that's probably their phone, and they're probably checking this thing on the way to class to see what the calendar is all about, what's going on, so that they get an idea about what to expect. And so there's that. And so you have this kind of breakdown of your users. Let's see what else. Service provider. This is actually kind of interesting here. This information tends to be kind of the same information here. It's not set, so it's being masked by some reason. I'm thinking that it's probably being masked. Maybe there's some kind of rule now that that if you're a service provider, you don't have to say who you are. It used to be that you'd see who is it, Armstrong? Is that who we are in the area? I think it's Armstrong. You used to see like Armstrong and then Comcast and some other providers listed right here in semesters past. Mobile operating systems here. I think you guys all get the idea here, but you can really kind of dissect what it is that's going on here. Most of the operating systems, in fact, this is interesting. No Galaxy, no Samsung Galaxies. It seems like all people who are logging into this class are using iOS. That's Apple. If they're using Galaxy or Samsung, you'd see, I think you'd just see Android. You'd see Android here. Service provider, does that give us any information here? New screen resolution. That's also interesting here. Screen resolution is important because if my website is catering primarily to people who are logging in on low-resolution devices, in other words, they're using their phone, then I don't want to have like high-resolution graphics here, which is going to basically make it difficult for that phone to process this information. You want to make sure that something is playing to the strengths of the device. So I hope that this overview, I mean, I know that you're probably getting tired of looking at some of these statistics here, but these statistics are not just there to help you make a better website for your people, your visitors, but also, though, as a web designer, you could use these statistics to see whether your website is actually working for the hardware that people use. Primarily, if you take Dr. Katheimer's course, this information here about the browser, Chrome, Safari, Firefox, or Opera, he's saying in his class in website design here, web development here, he would say that you must check your website across all of these browsers to be sure that it actually works. I see that most of my users are coming from Chrome. That certainly has to work. My website certainly has to look good on Chrome. I can't have any system failures here where like there's a bug in my code. I just can't afford that because most of the people who come in are using that browser. I also have to make sure that Safari looks good too. So I have to basically what this is saying is you have to make sure you test your website on these hardwares or these softwares on these browsers here to make sure that it actually looks good. Then I have active users. What do I have here? This is still loading. We saw this before. In fact, this is where we had 38 users coming in on a Friday. And then we had, for instance, the Saturday, only 2 users. So you can kind of get this idea. Let's see, 28-day active users. Can we just click on this stuff over here? I can now compare things and see what's going on. This is, let's see, that's September 3rd. I guess I don't have that much data to show. 28-day, I don't know why. Well, there must be something I'm missing here. Refresh report. I guess I don't have that much information to show. That's probably what. But anyway, but still, you'd have the. Oh, I see. So yeah, okay, I see what you're looking at. You're basically grouping your users in. If you had like a really successful website where millions and millions of people were logging in, maybe you'd want to like kind of scale it back a bit and get a kind of a more global view of how people are logging in, and so that's what these options would do here. 1-day active user, in fact, I click on 28-day actually. What does that tell me here? 1-day active users, 16. 7-day active users, I had 65. 14-day active users, I had 78. These are just more statistics over the use of your website here, which you can use, and then you can compare. You can compare those trends across these things here. Lifetime value here. Oh, this is something that you'd use for if you're doing something with if money is being exchanged on your site here. You might use this to kind of figure out like where your ads are coming from. Like where are the best ads? When you're buying ads on different websites here, you might be going to DoubleClick buying ads there. You might be going to Google themselves buying ads there. You're going to Google and you're buying ads on YouTube. You can see, for instance, in this page here, how much, I guess, anticipated value you're getting for your money you're putting out. It's one of those things. But since I'm not paying any money for this, I'm going to ignore this. But you can still use this information here, though. Direct, referred, organic search, others. You can see how people are getting to your website. By direct, most of the people here are just typing my website. They get straight there. Referral, I don't know how they're being referred. They're probably coming from the departmental website here, which then you click on that, you go to that website, and then you find a link on that website to take you here. Then you have organic search, where you're actually going to Google and you're doing a search for this class. Audience, I want to kind of move a bit. I think we have 2 minutes here. There's just one point that I want to make when you see this audience here. And demographics and interests and things like that. Well, maybe this isn't going to come up. I think that's to compile my. Oh, okay, it does work here. Oh, no, that's not it. Demographics, here we go. Age and gender. One point that I'd like to make is that, for instance, this is saying that of my age, the people using this class, and it's fairly accurate, 18 to 24. They're guessing that on these days here, between basically September 4th, they say that my users, 10 of my users were between the ages of 18 and 24. Now, that could be true. That may be absolutely true. In fact, I would say that most of the people who are coming to college websites tend to be that age, and that's fine. But what I don't like, and this is a personal event here, and you can agree or not, but what I don't like, though, is that that age calculation is actually coming from the websites that you have been clicking on. It may be, for instance, a kind of a prejudice in some ways here. You were clicking on something, Google looks at you and profiles you, and they say, oh yeah, that guy is clicking on Nike shoes. You bet, he's probably a basketball player. Not necessarily, not necessarily. And this is where types of biases come from, because you have these, you basically jump the gun and you come up with this, you explain something away without really going after the data and fully understanding what's going on. Just because someone's clicking on Nike shoes does not make them a basketball player. Maybe they're just interested in design, and they're interested in seeing how the treads are designed. Maybe they're an engineer, a structural engineer in some cases, and they're looking to see how different kinds of rubbers are able to adhere to different surfaces. There are other reasons why you'd click on Nike shoes. And I hate to say this is for me as a hot topic button here, but it's like I don't like some of these statistics where when you click on these things here, when you look at these things, it just says, oh yeah, your users were this age here. And one of the goals in this course here is to bring to your attention that while this is a harmless, you could say this is a harmless statistic right now, the age. Sure, it's no one's really being hurt, I guess, but it's a slippery slope. And if we don't watch ourselves, we'll start putting up more and more metrics onto these kinds of websites here, where we start collecting information about racial interests or political interests, or for instance, maybe their religious aspirations, or any of these other things here. You'll find that, for instance, you'll log into your Google Analytics and you'll find, oh, I see that most of the people who logged into my website were of this faith. Huh. And you might think, why does that information actually need to be there? Why should we even collect this information? Why is that? Jordan and I were working on a project over the summertime where we were looking at some of the data that you find collected on certain websites, and we ask ourselves, why is it necessary that this data be collected and stored? Maybe this data should be left alone, and we should not use it to make any kind of preconceived notions of what it means. Anyway, I want you to spend some time, though. I'm not going to say, you'll hear more about this a bit later on here, but I want you to spend some time, though, looking through your analytics here. Spend some time enjoying this thing here. You have this skill here. Use these powers wisely, though, because you do have now some major powers here, but use these powers wisely, though, and see how long it takes for the actual clicking to start working here. And then when it does happen, share your link with your friends, and then see who's clicking in from where. When we are in lab, we're going to be doing more work like this website development and Google Analytics work here on Friday. Alrighty? Everybody stay well. I'll see you next time.